Well then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and I'm here with the Town Crier. Find out why after this. Today's video is sponsored by Heart of the Tribe Gallery, where art meets community. More about that later. Well, here we are at the Town Hall, and we're with Brad. Hi, Brad.
Hello.
Today's video came about as a result of a conversation Brad and I had when we'd finished filming a live show and his interview about a week ago. And he said that he thought we hadn't covered the history enough, and that he had a theory. Brad, what's that theory of yours?
My theory of the history of Town Criers, you mean?
And their role as journalists.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a background in journalism. Part of my degree was in journalism. Part of what I lecture in, as we talked about last time, is a little bit of journalism. And so one of the things that really drew me to the role of the Town Crier is their kind of role as the early journalists, the first newsmen, delivering the news of the day to the local populations of towns across the country before people could have access to the internet as we have today. We can just go online and see what's happening. Even before newspapers, before the invention of the printing press, the only way people could get news was for the Town Criers to stand in town and be loud as I do today.
Well, that's a great theory. So we thought we would go ahead and we would actually have a look at the history of town crying. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video about the history of town criers.
The Town Crier would begin his cry with these words. This cry derives from the French word Crier and means hear ye. These words were accompanied by the ringing of a large handbell to attract attention. It was the job of the Town Crier, or the bellman, to inform the townsfolk of local news, proclamations, bylaws, and any other important information. Remember, at this time, most folk were illiterate and would need to rely on the Town Criers to get their news. The proclamations would then end with, "God save the King," or Queen, because Town Criers traditionally represented the voice of the monarch. Having read out his message, the Town Crier would then attach it to the doorpost of the local inn, thus posting a notice. As you can see, this tradition carries on to today. Somebody's already beaten me to it. But this is the reason why so many modern newspapers are still called the Post. So reading out the latest news wasn't their only role, however. In fact, one of their original roles was to patrol the streets after dark, acting as peacekeepers, arresting miscreants and taking them to the stocks before posting their crimes so that everybody could see what they'd done wrong. Another early role they took was to make sure that the fires were damped down for the night after the curfew bell. Yet another and far more grisly role they undertook was at public hangings, where they would read out the charges and then assist with cutting down the body once the deed was done. The key requirements for a town crier were an air of authority and a loud voice. In the 18th century, town criers were paid between twopence and fourpence, which are considerably more than my current remuneration. Town criers were protected by law. This was because anything that a town crier said was in the name of the monarch. That means that to harm a town crier was an act of treason. This was to protect us when delivering bad news such as tax rises or invasion. While the tradition can be traced back to Roman oratory customs, town criers as we recognise them in Britain today date back to 1066, when William the Conqueror defeated Harold at the Battle of Hastings. He sent messengers out to towns across the country to deliver the news that the Saxon Britain was now Norman Britain. Two of them even show up on the Bayeux Tapestry. Today's town criers, dressed to impress in brightly coloured coats, breeches, boots and tricorn hats. They're often seen at fetes, events and town criers competitions, armed with scrolls, bells and other noisemakers such as drums or even horns. Here in Glastonbury, we have had no fewer than 4 town criers this century. I step into the buckled shoes of the esteemed David Greenway, who was in the role for an impressive 11 years. Before him was Graham Coles, who was in turn preceded by Jim Bobbitt. Today, there is only one place in Britain where you can regularly hear a town crier, and that is the city of Chester, where every day at midday, the town crier will stand at the city cross and make a proclamation, except on race days when he's there at 11. This has happened every day since the Middle Ages.
So there you have it, the history of the town crier. What do you think of that, Brad? I mean, that your theory seems to hold up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. We've obviously talked a lot about the history of the role of the town crier, certain other duties that they had alongside delivering news.
And I learned something there, I'll tell you. Well, that brings us to the end of another video. Thank you, Brad. But before I go, there's just a couple of other notices that I would like to mention. You may or may not know that we have a live show on the channel, and Brad is going to be appearing regularly on that, bringing us up to date with everything that's going on in Glastonbury. Yeah. Who better than the town crier to keep us informed? So that's what we're going to be doing.
So if anybody has any events coming up in town, anything happening, do let me know at Glastonbury Town Crier at protonmail.com, and we can do a shout out for you.
Absolutely, have a town crier turn up at your event. That's brilliant. And one last thing I would ask, ladies and gentlemen, is to make more videos like this. If you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to do, and it helps us grow up the algorithm that YouTube seems to want us to grow up, and helps us to make more and better videos. So thank you very much for watching today, and Brad, for the fascinating history of the town crier. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
The Heart of the Tribe Gallery is a community art gallery situated near the top of Glastonbury High Street. They host amazing exhibitions supporting local artists, and they have a beautiful secret garden out the back. So be sure to check them out and support local art.